Best Wolverine, Hugh Jackman versus comic version. Hey there, Marvel enthusiasts. Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the worlds of comics and cinema. Today, we're tackling a debate that's been bubbling up among fans for years. Who is the ultimate Wolverine? Is it the fierce, gritty mutant from the comic books, or is it Hugh Jackman's legendary portrayal on the big screen? Wolverine has clawed his way into the hearts of fans for decades, becoming one of the most iconic characters in pop culture. From his mysterious past and rugged persona to those unmistakable adamantium claws, there's so much to unpack about this fan-favorite hero. But how does the original comic version stack up against the cinematic rendition we've come to know and love? Stick around as we compare and contrast these two legendary versions of Wolverine. We'll delve into their origins, character development, and impact on fans worldwide. Trust us, you won't want to miss this deep dive into the world of one of Marvel's most complex characters. Let's get started. Wolverine in the comics. Let's kick things off by jumping back to where it all began, the comics. Wolverine first slashed onto the scene in 1974, making his debut in The Incredible Hulk number 180 to 181. Created by the brilliant minds of Roy Thomas, Len Wein, and John Romita Sr., he was initially introduced as a mysterious Canadian operative sent to battle the Hulk. Little did anyone know, this short-statured scrapper would become a titan in the Marvel Universe. Born James Logan Howlett in the late 19th century, Wolverine's backstory is a tapestry of tragedy, loss, and resilience. Growing up in Alberta, Canada, young James experienced traumatic events that triggered his mutant abilities, most notably his healing factor and bone claws. These early hardships set him on a tumultuous path, leading to a life marked by war, memory loss, and relentless internal conflict. Physically, comic book Wolverine is a stark contrast to typical superheroes. Standing at just 5'3", he's short but built like a tank, with rugged features that highlight his feral nature. His signature look includes wild hair, mutton chops, and a sometimes animalistic demeanor. And let's not forget those retractable claws and indestructible adamantium skeleton, courtesy of the infamous Weapon X program. Combined with heightened senses and a regenerative healing factor, he's a formidable force on any battlefield. Personality-wise, Wolverine is the quintessential anti-hero. He's brooding, fiercely independent, and often prefers to operate solo. His loner tendencies, however, don't stop him from having a deep, albeit complicated sense of loyalty and honor. Beneath that gruff exterior lies a man grappling with his humanity, haunted by a past he can't fully remember. Wolverine has been central to some of Marvel's most pivotal storylines. The Weapon X saga details the brutal experiments that bonded adamantium to his skeleton and erased his memories. As a member of the X-Men, he's played key roles in iconic arcs like the Dark Phoenix saga and Days of Future Past. Influential writers and artists such as Chris Claremont, Frank Miller, and Barry Windsor Smith have all left their mark on the character, exploring themes of identity, redemption, and the eternal struggle between man and beast. From battling ninjas in Japan to journeying through his own fragmented memories, the comic book Wolverine is a complex character whose depth and nuance have captivated readers for decades. He's not just a hero with claws, he's a symbol of survival and self-discovery, making him one of the most enduring figures in comic book history. Hugh Jackman's portrayal of Wolverine. Now, let's switch gears and talk about the man who brought Wolverine to life on the silver screen, Hugh Jackman. When Jackman was first cast as Wolverine in the 2000 film X-Men, he was relatively unknown internationally. Fans were skeptical. Could this tall Australian actor truly capture the essence of the gritty Canadian mutant they loved from the comics? Jackman proved the doubters wrong with a performance that would define his career. He threw himself into the role, undergoing intense physical training to achieve Wolverine's muscular build. Despite the noticeable height difference, Jackman stands at 6'2" compared to Wolverine's comic book height of 5'3". He embodied the character's physicality through a commanding presence and meticulous attention to movement and demeanor. His portrayal introduced us to a Wolverine who was tough yet vulnerable, fierce yet compassionate. From his first appearance in X-Men 2000, where we see him cage fighting in a rugged bar, to his emotional journey throughout the series, Jackman brought depth to the character that resonated with audiences. Over the years, he reprised his role in sequels and standalone films like X2, X-Men: The Last Stand, The Wolverine, and the critically acclaimed Logan. Jackman's performance is remarkable for how he navigated Wolverine's complex emotions. In Logan, 2017, he portrays an older, weary Wolverine grappling with loss and the burdens of his past, a performance that earned widespread praise and tugged at the heartstrings of fans worldwide. Jackman's impact on the X-Men franchise and pop culture at large is profound. His dedication to the role helped establish Wolverine as a central figure in the films, elevating the character's popularity beyond comic book circles. His interpretation influenced how future superhero roles were approached, emphasizing the importance of character depth and personal journey over mere spectacle. Over a span of 17 years, Hugh Jackman became synonymous with Wolverine, setting a high bar for any who might take up the mantle in the future. His commitment, talent, and respect for the character have left an indelible mark on cinema history. Comic versus cinematic Wolverine, a comparative analysis. All right, folks, it's time for the main event. Let's dive into a head-to-head comparison of the comic book Wolverine and Hugh Jackman's cinematic portrayal. Physical appearance. Starting with the obvious, the height difference. In the comics, Wolverine's 5'3" stature is a significant aspect of his character, contributing to his tenacity and underdog status. Hugh Jackman, towering at 6'2", doesn't match this physically. However, Jackman's impressive physique and intense screen presence helped mitigate this difference. His Wolverine feels imposing, which aligns with the character's formidable reputation. When it comes to costume design, the comics showcase Wolverine in his iconic yellow and blue spandex suit, complete with a mask and those sharp, pointed ear-like extensions. The films opted for a more realistic approach, outfitting him in leather suits and street clothes. While some fans missed the classic costume, the cinematic choice fit the tone and aesthetic of the movies. There was even a nod to the comic suit in a deleted scene from The Wolverine, which was a fun Easter egg for fans. Wolverine's feral features, such as his wild hair and mutton chops, are present in both versions. Jackman embraced this look, sporting the signature hairstyle and rugged facial hair that made the character instantly recognizable. The films may have toned down some of the more animalistic aspects, but they maintained the essential visual cues, personality, and characterization. Comic Wolverine is often portrayed as more aggressive and volatile, a man of few words who lets his actions or claws do the talking. He's gruff, surly, and doesn't shy away from his darker impulses. Jackman's Wolverine captures much of this essence but adds layers of emotional vulnerability. His portrayal explores Wolverine's struggle with his past and his relationships with others, adding depth to the character. The cinematic Wolverine exhibits moments of dry humor and wit, which align with the comics but are perhaps more pronounced on screen. This adds a level of relatability and breaks up the intensity, providing a more rounded character that audiences can connect with. Powers and abilities. Both versions share the same core abilities: a regenerative healing factor, retractable claws, and enhanced senses. In the comics, Wolverine's healing factor is sometimes depicted as nearly limitless, allowing him to recover from almost any injury. The films present a more restrained version, still impressive but not invincible. This makes for higher stakes and more tension in the storytelling. The exploration of Wolverine's aging and immortality is poignantly handled in Logan, where his healing factor is diminishing. This aligns with certain comic storylines that delve into the consequences of his powers and adds a layer of humanity to the character. Story arcs and plot adaptations. Adapting comic storylines to film is always a balancing act. The Weapon X program is a key element in both mediums, detailing the torturous experiments that gave Wolverine his adamantium skeleton. The films simplify this backstory for accessibility but retain its core impact on the character. Logan draws inspiration from the Old Man Logan comics, capturing the themes of regret, legacy, and the toll of a life filled with violence. However, due to licensing and narrative choices, the film diverges significantly from the source material, creating a standalone story that resonates on its own merits. Some fans note the omission of key relationships and events from the comics. For example, Wolverine's deep connections with characters like Nightcrawler, Jubilee, and his time in Japan are either lightly touched upon or absent. While the Wolverine does explore his Japanese arc, it doesn't fully capture the depth found in the comics. Supporting characters and relationships. In the comics, Wolverine's interactions with the X-Men are multifaceted. He's been a mentor, rival, and even a leader. His romantic relationships are complex, including his love for Mariko Yoshida and his tumultuous connection with Jean Grey. The films focus heavily on his relationship with Jean Grey, adding a romantic tension that drives much of his emotional arc. His mentorship roles shift slightly, with significant relationships developed with Rogue in X-Men 2000 and Laura X-23 in Logan. These relationships showcase his protective instincts and capacity for deep affection, adding layers to his character not always explored in the comics. Themes and tone. The comics often delve into darker, more mature themes, exploring Wolverine's internal battles with his feral nature and his quest for identity. The films aim for a balance, incorporating these elements while ensuring they remain accessible to a general audience. Logan stands out by fully embracing a grittier, more somber tone, reflecting the mature storytelling found in the comics. The representation of Wolverine's internal struggles is a common thread in both mediums. Whether it's through intense action sequences or quiet, reflective moments, both portrayals highlight his constant battle between his animal instincts and his desire to be more than a weapon. Cultural and historical context. Wolverine's evolution in the comics over the decades mirrors changing societal themes and artistic styles. He's been reinterpreted to stay relevant with contemporary issues and audience expectations. The early 2000s cinema landscape influenced how Wolverine was adapted for film. Superhero movies were striving for realism and broader appeal, leading to changes that made the character more grounded. Audience reception was generally positive, embracing this new take while still appreciating nods to the source material. The essence of Wolverine. Did the films capture it? So, did the films capture the essence of Wolverine? We believe they did. While there are differences and adaptations necessary for the medium, the core attributes, his resilience, struggle with his past, fierce loyalty, and unbreakable spirit, shine through. The deviations from the source material often serve to enhance the narrative for cinematic purposes. Changes were made to fit the storytelling style of film, pacing, and character development suitable for a 2-hour experience. In the end, both versions bring their own strengths. The comic Wolverine offers a rich, expansive exploration of the character across countless storylines. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine provides a focused, emotionally resonant portrayal that brought the character to life for millions around the world. What are your thoughts? Did the movies nail it, or do you prefer the original comic version? Hit us up in the comments below, and let's get the conversation started. Fan opinions and critiques. Now that we've laid it all out, let's talk about what the fans think. Hugh Jackman's performance has been widely praised for capturing the spirit of Wolverine. Fans appreciate how he embodied the character's toughness, internal conflict, and growth over the series. Despite not matching the comic's physical stature, Jackman's dedication and nuanced performance won over many skeptics. His ability to convey emotional depth and make Wolverine relatable elevated the character beyond a simple action hero. Some comic purists have expressed criticisms. They point out that certain character traits were softened, and key storylines or relationships were underrepresented or altered. For instance, Wolverine's more animalistic rage and the darker aspects of his personality were toned down. There's also disappointment over the limited exploration of his rich comic history, like his time with Alpha Flight or deeper dives into his Japanese connections. This leads to the ongoing debate over adaptation versus accuracy. Balancing cinematic storytelling with fan expectations is a tricky dance. While some fans appreciate creative liberties that make the story more cohesive on screen, others prefer a faithful replication of the source material. Examples of successful adaptations include the portrayal of Tony Stark in the MCU, while less successful ones might point to deviations in characters like Deadpool in X-Men Origins. Despite the critiques, there's no denying the impact Jackman's Wolverine has had. He introduced the character to a wider audience and influenced how Wolverine is perceived in popular culture. His portrayal has even impacted future comic iterations, with some artists and writers drawing inspiration from his performance. In the end, the character's legacy has only grown stronger, thanks in part to the passionate discussions and varying opinions among fans. After all, a character that sparks conversation is one that continues to stay alive in our hearts and minds. So there you have it, a comprehensive look at Wolverine in both the comics and on the big screen. We've explored their origins, personalities, and the unique qualities each brings to the table. Both versions have their merits, and both have contributed to the legacy of this incredible character. Personally, we think both the comic and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine offer something special. The comics provide endless depth and stories to dive into, while Jackman's portrayal has given us unforgettable cinematic moments. But now, we want to hear from you. Who's your favorite Wolverine? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite characters. Until next time, stay uncanny.